welcome back to my road trip series, where I talk and drive at the same time, and it's streams of consciousness. Where these conversations go, it's a lot like being on a road trip. You start talking, you're driving and talking, and things catch your eye. You think you're talking about one thing, and you take a little side trip in conversation, and you go to another thing. And that's the whole point of them. They're not meant to be a linear kind of conversation, because I am not a linear type of person, and that's what I like about just having conversations with friends or getting onto these and the rest of the Ignited Pathfinder stuff. Is just having conversations with people and talking to them, getting to know people, being curious about people's stories and how they're doing things differently than the way that they were shown. Because, as I love to point out, a line 3 life, and if you ever hear me say that, I'm referencing a human design system. And I'm not going to go into it, but line 3 finds out what doesn't work first. They usually find out what works the fastest because they've tried every other way that doesn't work before they get to something that works. And what I find doesn't work is always constantly trying to do other people's way they say to do it. You've got to find your own way, and you think that frameworks and processes are, if I just color in the lines and I do the step-by-step and I put it all together, that my business is going to look like their business. And that is not the case. Someone said, well, if you could do a step-by-step instructions, if you're a step-by-step person and you can follow somebody else's processes and you can build the thing that you want to build, oh my God, I'm so jealous. I also can't follow instructions to build a shelf. Now, I won't say to save my life, because I like to talk about the year I built the barbecue. I did follow the instructions. It was really painful. There was a lot of sweating, and I'm talking like stinky kind of sweating, okay, let's look at the instructions. What's the next step? Do not build this, because if you build it wrong, Corey, and you hook a propane tank up to this, you will blow up your house. It was a painful procedure for me. I did it, and I was like, God, I hate following instructions, because there's this very real fear that I'm going to fuck it up anyways following instructions. So if I'm going to fuck something up, I'd rather just fuck it up doing it my own way, rather than fuck up something when you're following the directions and you still somehow manage to mess it up, because a line 3 can totally do that, because they're supposed to, because they're the innovators, because they find different ways. They'll try different things. They continuously try. It's a gift and a curse all at once. They're called a martyr in human design in the foundational language, because they'll pick something and they'll stick with it and with whatever. And oftentimes too, they end up going along with other people because or to be a martyr to different things, because it almost becomes safer to us. We don't get our natural instincts to be like, if I just do it this way, I can't possibly mess anything up. But they're also called the experimenter in human design, and I definitely like that one, because when I'm really in the flow of my line 3 life, everything's an experiment, and what seems to go wrong is just information that I get to learn from. The motto of I either get the result that I want, or I learn a lesson for the next time I try. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. So what does that mean for today's conversation? What are we actually talking about? It's going to be Arbonne focused. It really is. And if you don't know what Arbonne is, it's a health and wellness company that I partnered with last year. And I partnered up with it, and basically for me, I just had to switch out the brands of products that I was using and then use them consistently, because everything that I've ever used as far as protein powders, greens powders, I've never actually took digestive enzymes or prebiotics, probiotics, or collagen support stuff. I take a collagen peptide, I do a shot of that. I've been doing now for a couple of years, but I'd never never done the support one, which is stimulates the liquid to produce more liquid, because it's the liquid that actually takes the building blocks of the peptides and then builds up your collagen supplies. But that's a little biology for you. Also, side note, I have to go a little bit quiet here. I'm heading into Moose Jaw. I'm about 45 minutes away from home. But me and Moose Jaw have a really bad relationship. There is a photo radar camera where I've known the placement of it for 14 years. But the number of photo radar tickets I've had is embarrassing. So I have to get past the camera before my energy, like, okay, there, I passed the camera. Now I'm not like super concerned about my speed, although I was going 10 over, so I could get a ticket. Fuck. Coming back to the health and wellness. Anyways, I changed out my protein powder. I'm like, okay, I'll try a new protein powder. I'll try this Green Synergy thing, and I definitely wanted to try out their energy drinks, because they're a lot healthier than canned energy drinks, and I love actually Rain energy drinks are still my favorite canned energy drink, but I just would have one once every couple of months or whatever, as a treat. One of my daughters used to get the Alani Nu when she'd go to Costco, so they were always in the house. So I had more of those than I care to admit. Caffeine is my drug of choice, and not because it gets me high, but because it calms me down, actually. I could have some caffeine and go have a nap. That's how it reacts in my body. But, oh fuck, that didn't work, did it? See, road trip. Unexpected things happen. The phone falls off the charger or the whole thing back to it. Okay. Are we still recording? Yeah, we're still recording. Okay. So yeah, I was looking to try their Energy Fizz because it looked like so much fun when I was watching people make it. Like, what is that? Now, I just put one in here and shaking it up, and I like them with my greens. It gives a little more sweetness to the bitter, not, I guess, the bitterness, but like, it has a green. Anyways, it's got caffeine and it calms me down. But it's a natural source of caffeine, so there's no crash with it. But also, I really like the cofactor coenzyme 10 that's in it, because that clears my brain fog these days. The perimenopause sometimes brings onto my day. So I have those, and it's like a completely sunny day inside of my head, kind of like it is outside. And that's a wonderful feeling inside one's head. But where was I going with this conversation? Oh, yes. I knew going into a network marketing industry that there's some not so pleasant stuff said on the outside. And some people are wonderfully naive. They don't even know what network marketing is when they found this. So if you don't go look for MLM hate. You'll find it, and you'll question the entire industry. And I'm like, it's not what you think it is on the inside, but then it is what you think it is on the inside, and that's not because of what you think it is on the inside. Mostly it's because people don't know better. So you don't do better until you know better. So some of the trainings, or what they call trainings, are interesting. Some of them are hype speeches, but I'm also quick to recognize that some of the people training with hype speeches are new to talking to people, to talking to a group of people, and there is a culture of hype and positivity and all of that, which is great. I personally sometimes get a little frustrated because I'm like, nervous systems, guys, nervous systems, not everything's mindset. It's not your positive mindset that's going to build the business. You can have a positive mindset and you could have the most wrecked nervous system, and you won't build anything on a wrecked nervous system. You just won't. But I don't speak up because, well, when it's my turn to train on stuff, you know we're training on the nervous system. And one thing that everybody talks about is the belief in, you have to have 3 levels of belief in Arbonne to get to the top. They said belief in the products, belief in the business model, and then belief in yourself. And most people that stick around start to have beliefs in the products, right? Like, it didn't take long for me to have beliefs in the products. It took me 10 days to be like, oh my God, their corporate marketing coming out of this company is actually on par. What they say it's going to do, it actually did, and it actually did that as fast. And after 8 months, it is sustainable. And then you're like, okay, belief in the business system. And if you don't understand business systems, you might need a little bit more learning in business systems to be like, somebody else's sales don't mean I make money from them. The company as a whole pays a bonus for supporting the people that you bring onto your team. So they don't have to do the training, right, for new consultants. That the corporate doesn't have to. They could get celebrities and to endorse different products, but whoever came up with the network marketing said, you know what, we don't want to pay celebrities to endorse our products. We want to pay people who use the products to tell their friends and family and what it was, and now they can tell the whole internet like what products you're using. It doesn't mean you're the most credible source, but it gives you access to more people. So corporate's like, okay, and then they can figure out the marketing on their own. They give you suggestions on how to do it, and most people will look to celebrities on how you're supposed to endorse a product, but essentially it's just conversations. It's having conversations about the business, having conversations about the products, having just conversations. And this is one of my ways to have conversations now. Road trip series, let me talk to you about this, but let me talk to you about building the business side of it. The other thing, and this is where it gets a little sticky for me, is everybody's like, you've got to have belief in yourself. And they oftentimes, so if the business isn't working, you're like, you just got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that this is going to work. You got to, and I want to stop people, because I totally believe you have to believe in yourself. And then you also have to understand that there might be another piece in yourself that's stopping you from believing in yourself. You can have all the talent in the world, and you can have all the belief in yourself, but there is still a part of chance and luck and charisma and voice and everything that matters. There is other things other than just belief in yourself. Like, I can have a belief in myself that I will make it to the top 1%. Will I do it in 5 years? Will I do it before 5 years? I don't know, because this is where the bias comes in, is they're asking people at the top 1%, how did you get here? Was it all your choices? And they're assuming that they're all their choices that got them there. They're not talking about the structure that they have in their family, the hidden infrastructure they have behind the scenes with family that support them to do that, or childcare, the amount of financial stability they had before going into it, life circumstances. Nobody asks the people that leave the business, hey, can you come back around and do an exit interview? I want to do an exit interview with you in 6 months to kind of get a feel for where things went sideways with you and your business. Nobody does that. I have yet to see anybody in this business do an exit interview 6 months after somebody's out of the business. If you do it right when they leave, people are going to have all kinds of reasons as to why, to try to justify the reasons that they did. And I can say this as somebody who got divorced. When I got divorced, people wanted to know, like, well, why are you getting divorced? Like, everything seemed good from where we were. And you try to start to justify, like, your choice in getting divorced. And some people think you made the choice overnight, and anyone who's been divorced knows you didn't make that choice. That didn't happen overnight. You didn't wake up one day and be like, oh, I think I'm going to blow up my life and just get divorced and do this. It doesn't happen. And so I would give all kinds of, like, reasons, and even as I'm saying them, I'm like, that sounds so stupid. That's not what it is. I don't know how to say it, because I hadn't emotionally processed the marriage. I hadn't finished emotionally processing why I left. Now, 17 years after a divorce, I can easily say there's a complete and utter mismatch of values, and there's a 17-year history to show you his values and my values, and the way that we do different things, and the way that we support the kids, and that you can see then how different they were. And we were trying to make that work, and we were failing miserably at it because he was shutting down. And then I got to a point where I just quit trying as well. And so then I took his lead. He shut down, I shut down, and it looked like everything was peaceful. And it looked like I had no problem doing all that I was doing. But the truth was I had exhausted myself, and my goal had become take care of the kids. And in my head is like, you're either going to be a single married person and do this on your own, so get used to it, or you're going to get divorced and you're going to do this on your own, so get used to it. So I call the last year of marriage single parent training, is what I did before I finally sat him down and said, I'm done. And that was 8.5 years of growing apart, because you couldn't see the foundation of our different value systems until the kids started to show up. Once the kids started to show up, you could see the cracks in the foundation of how we approach conflict, how we approach growth, how we approach all of these things you can't know until you know. And it's the same thing with business, essentially, is what I'm saying. Is if somebody said that they quit their network marketing, or they partnered, let's say someone says, oh, I partnered up with Arbonne, and it was all a scam, and it was a gaslighting session, and it was all of these things, and all of that. The people on the inside are going to say, oh, she just didn't believe in herself enough. She didn't believe in the business. She wasn't willing to work. Or she was the problem in the system, instead of looking and be like, well, what part of this system needs to evolve and adapt to the people that are leaving? Like, how do we retain these people? It's not all about duplication. There is absolutely flaws in this system, the same way that there's flaws in the medical system, the institutionalized systems. All of our systems have some sort of flaws, may not be the word. They need to evolve and adapt to the ever-growing evolution of humanity. How does that sound? And so as I've stepped in here to be like, I think it's not so much that people don't believe in themselves. People aren't aware of their nervous system, and that will have them flee. And then they'll have time to reflect. And if you're having conversations with people that don't like the industry, they may tell you that it was one way, and you'll be like, yeah, you're right. That does sound like gaslighting. Oh, you're right. This does sound like they were like toxic positivity and stuff. And I don't think it's toxic positivity in network marketing. I don't think it's gaslighting and all of that when they're in the trainings and telling you to believe and to share your story and all of that. I think that's what they know as far as training. So they haven't been shown that there's another way to help people further along to stay in, that you have these people that have come onto your team and they want to do these, or they want to try the products, or they want to do all these things. But there is another way to help them stabilize and build a foundation. And I believe that's one of my strengths of being out in the wild for so long. I've learned all these other different ways that I bring into Arbonne. I also bring a more life experience into my success line than the women have, which means I reach a different audience, actually. Reaching a 50-year-old who might look at network marketing and think her time has passed, and she's not going back into that because, well, look at what everybody's done. I'm too old for this, to do this. I'm too old to get online. I'm too old to start again. I don't know the tech stuff. I'm also scared of the camera. So they write that off, and they continue to struggle financially in their day-to-day life, or they take a job they really don't like. It physically drains them, and then they're too tired to really do anything because you're actually too tired. And I can say to other people, it's not a 35-year-old can look at a 50-year-old and say, oh, well, okay, whatever, you're tired, you're just not trying hard enough, you need to believe more. But they've never been 50 before, so they really have no leg to stand on. That's like telling somebody how to parent when you've never been a parent. Like, we're all the best parents until we have our children. And surprise, raising children is harder than it looks, and it's a constant. You're in it, right? And you don't know how you'll parent. You think you know how you'll parent, but you don't know how you're going to parent every stage until you're in that stage. That's the fun thing of it. You don't know how to do it with that. So, well, I do believe that you need to believe in yourself if you want to get to whichever level, whether you want to make an extra $500 a month, whether you want to make an extra $1,000 a month, whether you want to go for it and you want to keep building and building and building until you get to the top of the company. And earning.arbonne.com to see what's typical, because the women up at the top that I know they're definitely not typical results. That's why they're called the top 1%. And yes, as far as I know, the majority of them are making over $20,000 a month. And earnings.arbonne.com, and maybe you're not supposed to say the income level, and they're not supposed to give exact numbers. They don't give exact numbers, but after you've seen the tables and the charts and you start to do the math on people, you know that they are. Do you know what their expenses are? Not necessarily. Are their expenses more than their earnings? There have been people, there's one woman that I watched, and she left her top 1%. She felt called to lay down her network marketing business, and she followed God, and she gave her numbers, and I wholeheartedly believe, based on the structure that she had with her team, she was being honest what her numbers were, and she could, because she wasn't bound by compliance, right? She wasn't bound by saying the exact amount that she was making. So there is compliance from corporate on what you can and can't say. And some people get called into question, and I just like to know the top 1% in person to know what's possible, because just seeing somebody online to be like, oh, well, I think she makes a lot, and you're like, well, how much does she make? And they're like, well, I don't know, but since I know her, and I know the people that are in my city, they're in the top 1%, like not like personally, but obviously I've sat down with them in rooms, and I want to go for it. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to go aim for it. And I have no idea what the next 5 years hold for me as far as the rest of my life and the paths that sometimes derail you from those things. So sometimes your paths derail you from, like, I could be like, I'm heading to the top 1%. And then a path comes and like, you're not even doing Arbonne anymore. It's not because I didn't believe in myself. It's because life took me in a different direction. And that one is not talked about enough behind the scenes. Life does take you in different directions. And so, would I like to go on trainings, hear more real stuff like that? Yeah, but I'm also kind of I am, as you will, I'll find out what's wrong with something before I find out what's wrong. Right. And you want those people in your life, as I say. You know what? There is people probably that go around and they like check airplane checks, right? And they kick tires and they poke here and they poke there, and they're looking to find loose wires and things that don't work. They want to find out what doesn't work on that airplane before they ever put it up in the air. It's not because they're negative and they're just looking for problems to solve. They're just honed in on They're honed in. They know how to look for what doesn't work because something needs to be fixed for it to work for everybody on board. And there's some of us in the industry, and for sure in Arbonne, we can tell you what doesn't work for us, and then we're willing to be like, okay, if it doesn't work for me, people have probably left because of this. So you can leave the industry. I said, like, the stuff that you're like, I don't know about this. I could just leave and be like other people and say it's not good. Or you can be like, there's problems in the industry itself, and I'm going to stick around and help it evolve as long as I can. And see if I can create new paths to the top 1%. Because if you create new paths, that means more people can come to the top, right? Think of a mountain. Only people that could hike to the top of a mountain could get to the top of the mountain. Or if you had enough money to start with, you could get a helicopter to the top of the mountain and you could just bypass the whole walking thing. But then ski lifts became a thing, and they started with tow ropes, and some tow ropes could go but you would only go to the top of the mountain if you knew that you could ski, right? Okay, so then chairlifts are brought. So now people that don't have the strength to hold on to a tow rope to the top of the mountain, they can get to the top of the mountain because they hop on a chair. Again, you better know how to ski because you still have to go down the mountain. And so then what happens with some of the top of the mountains? There's chairlifts to the top of the mountains. You no longer have to walk to the top of the mountain and use all that physical. You can get on a chairlift in the summertime at some ski resorts. It'll take you to the top of the mountain. You can walk around on the top of the mountain, and then you can get back on the chairlift and go back down the mountain. Like, do you see what I mean? So you create more accessibility for people to get to the top of the mountain. And with Arbonne, the more that it evolves with the new emerging marketing paths to reach people, to show people what's possible, to get these products into the hands of people that want them, you've evolved the system. You've evolved the system and you make it more accessible to people, which means people make more money, which means people have the vehicle to build what it is that they want in their life. Because, yeah, it's nobody's dream to sell probably, I want to sell skincare when I grow up. I want to sell protein and green drinks and energy drinks. I want to sell those things. That's probably nobody's big dream, and that's what they want their career to be. But the money that doing so, like, you've got this dream, you need a vehicle, you need something that builds the money so you can go do the thing that you want to do, right? And for me, people would ask, well, why don't you have a wellness center? As a massage therapist, that's one of the paths to making more money, like open up your own place. And I'm like, I like to be in a treatment room. If I open up a wellness business, my own spa, my own clinic, I'm the business owner there, and I have to do more marketing than I do massaging. Also, I have to have employees, or I have to have contractors that are directly tied to my marketing. And if the massage therapists are like me, they don't want to do marketing, they want to do massage, which leaves all of the marketing for my business to get them customers, to get myself customers, falls on my shoulders. And that is a pressure I just don't want. Having grown up in family businesses and the responsibility of employees, it doesn't interest me. But the possibility of teammates where we're all building out our businesses, selling kind of the same things, but working on our own messaging, putting our own spin on it, building it in our own way, I love that idea. It feels more like a team sport to me. And if you listen to any of my road trip series, you understand that these videos are getting made because I'm going to watch my kids play sports. And I'm in the vehicle by myself and I have a lot of time. And because as a former athlete myself, I understand the importance of that, and I understand the support of parental support. So I'm there to support them. I love the team environment. I am very pro getting your kids into sports if it's something that they want, to show them how to work as part of a team. And it's funny because two of my kids they don't actually like team stuff. My oldest likes to do things on his own. You give him his role, give him his instructions, what he does, and then just leave him alone to do his thing. And he's great that way. He's like part of the team, but not part of the team. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a trainer on a team. They're doing their own thing. They are helping the athletes when they're hurt. They're not. They're part of the team, but they're usually in the treatment room with the athletes. And so that one he works with numbers. He works in an accounting office, so he does that. And my youngest, she learned in high school she doesn't like team sports. She doesn't like the team bonding and stuff. She likes to work on her own schedule at her own time, doing her own thing. Yes, she loves people, but she also likes to do independent things by herself, and that's great. And the other two kids are they love the team environment. They love to be part of a team and the friendships that it brings and all of that. And that's the way that I was. I've always wanted people to build with, not people that I see over. Like when you have employees and they're in your business, you're it's a lot like parenting, you know. And I've already gone through 23 years of parenting and come out the other side of the heavy parenting years. So I don't want to go back into that. So I had to find another way. And I thought the online world out in the wild was it, but what I found was building alone was lonely, and it was tough, and you're wearing absolutely every hat, and you don't get as much. You get more momentum when you're building with other people, right? The same way you get more momentum when you're playing with a team, because the other players are there and they help you get better, and you help them get better, and you all grow together. So that's the stage that I'm in, building out the foundation of an Arbonne business and partnership with Arbonne, because I still do my other stuff. I still create my other products out for the wild. I just don't have to push them out as much. I get to develop them and test them and get them rolling and help the people on my Arbonne team use them for their business. And I think I'm running out of things to talk about. So with all of that being said, if I've said anything and you think, oh my God, I would love to be on your team, Corey, I would love to work with you, I would love to build a business of my own, I would love to build something, and I want to learn these messaging skills that you talk about, these nervous system regulation skills, these all the different ways to believe in yourself, but also to understand yourself so you can go out and build the next phase of your life. Leave me a comment, ask questions, message me on Instagram. You can visit my website, www.theignitedpath.com. Keep listening to my YouTube channel, subscribe, do what it is that we do when we find people that we're fascinated by and want to learn more from them. So that's it. And you know what's funny is that is the end of my road trip series, because I can now see Regina, and I'm about 5 to 10 minutes away from home. So let's wrap this up. I'll get this series loaded up in the next couple of days, and we'll see where it goes from there.